The real estate industry is the world's single largest contributor to climate change. At Fifth Wall, we're on a mission to help the industry eradicate its carbon emissions and build to zero.
There almost seems to be a clear ethical imperative to want people to be in places that are safer, right? That will lead to higher qualities of life, and just greater longevity because they're less imperiled by these climate events. But yet, it sounds like that's not happening. And one of the questions I have then is, what are the levers that can be turned to influence that? And I was kind of trying to think of a few of them. One is we just rely on the rationality of the consumer, right? To make a decision around where they should live that least puts them at risk, or their home or their property or their lifestyle or their families at risk. The second would be fiscal policy, right? Which is we simply alter the incentives within countries or among countries such that it leads to the outcomes simply by virtue of economic. The real estate industry is fundamentally a capital markets driven business, and real estate is really just a sociology business. You're just predicting, you're kind of predicting the economy happening in physical space. And by virtue of it happening in physical space, it happens in certain geographies, it happens in certain micro areas, and there's certain use cases that are more or less productive. And we can change interest rates, right, on those assets, right? The availability of debt, which largely finances the real estate industry. Which of those levers between the individual, fiscal policy, and capital markets seems the best lever to turn to drive the outcomes we want?
So if we're talking about within a single country, all three are already playing a significant role, obviously, because now we have the fiduciary pressures and the ESG pressures to start to pull back from risky geographies of investment, insurance companies are adjusting premiums, calibrating them depending on the risk of the geographies. And then, of course, ideally using that nudge, right, to get their clients, customers to look in more strategic areas or more propitious areas. The real estate industry, it tends to be following the people rather than building ahead of demand. So there's a big difference between just kind of laissez-faire economics and supply-led growth. I'm an advocate, I've seen it work in so many other countries, of supply-led growth. It's, if you're not an economist, the simple way to put it is, if you build it, they will come, right? So we've covered that lever. Again, fiscal policy is moving in this direction because we are starting to say, okay, wait a minute, if we need to sunset polluting industries and we need to focus on subsidizing renewable energy and raising the cost of hydrocarbons, well, that means that people will actually gravitate towards places where they can have that off-grid, circular kind of life. Use the word ethics. I actually do want to double down on this point, because as much as there are aspects of the real estate industry that are very short term, right? Buy, build, sell, right? The kind of thing, very, very short cycles. But kind of like the travel industry and the hospitality industry, which accounts for, 10, 12% of global GDP, there's something very fundamental if we stop and think about real estate, right? I mean, these are our habitats, right? It's actually an ethical responsibility for the sheltering of mankind, sort of most broadly conceived, not to mention building the professional working environments that we all, thrive in. So thinking short term is, fine, it's necessary, but it's not enough. And so this is actually one of the industries that should step back and think ethically about what is going on. So it's not only an ethical obligation, but a strategic opportunity for the real estate industry to say, wait a minute, can we forecast the future geographies of demand and the propitious geographies? Should we not think about what kinds of assets are going to be needed in those places for large scale human habitation and settlement? Is there a way to build those sustainably so that we're not trampling upon the remaining livable geographies on this world, having destroyed so many of the rest of them? And of course, that's actually a really enormous, endless business opportunity. And it's almost the embodiment of, do good and do it well, but not just as a cliche. It's like, because actually our fate as a civilization kind of depends on it.